Hollywood Squares is back again. It seems like every 15 or 20 years, this one rears its head back up. CBS is airing this on Thursday nights, and Nate Burleson is the host, and Drew Barrymore is the producer and the permanent center square. Let's talk the Hollywood Squares. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my game show review for Hollywood Squares. This airs Thursday nights on CBS, and a lot of celebrities involved in this, sort of a rotating cast. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but it's 2 episodes back to back every Thursday. Unlike, say, the ABC game show revivals like Press Your Luck, when they did the Match Game, when they did Card Sharks, they made a half-hour show into an hour, and sometimes they'd play 2 games in that hour. Sometimes they would do, like in Press Your Luck, a new bonus round for the winner of the original game. But this one is 2 completely separate half-hour episodes just aired back-to-back, so you can check that out. And listen, if you are one of my Dan Reviews It subscribers already, thank you so much for that. Always love having you guys return, but if you're not, please consider subscribing down below, and click that notification bell too, so you can be alerted for all my video drops. Or you could just like this video or comment below. That stuff, of course, helps the channel out too. And I do a lot of game show reviews. If you know my channel well, you know I review a lot of game shows. In fact, so much that I have a game show playlist on my homepage where you can see all of my reviews from the last few years. A lot of primetime game shows now. They're cheap to produce. You know, they sort of, you can jump in and out of them. There's no through line every single week. So these are attractive properties for networks, and we've seen a lot come and go over the years, but some have remained. CBS already has a couple on their lineup on Wednesdays. Raid the Cage is back for season 2, and The Price is Right at Night, which is obviously a primetime version with bigger prizes of their classic Price is Right. But this one is going to be their Thursday edition, and we've got Drew Barrymore in the center square. Now, when I was growing up in the 80s, it was the John Davidson version he hosted, and the center square was usually Joan Rivers. That would rotate a little bit, I think, as well. And then in the, I guess, late 90s, early 2000s, right, we had the Whoopi Goldberg / Ellen version. That was hosted by Tom Bergeron. Whoopi was the center square for, I think, the start of it. She was producing it like Drew is on this new one. And then Ellen took over. And this was when Ellen's career was kind of in a dip, you know, but she had come back, I guess, because of Finding Nemo. And it was before her talk show and everything. And I think her being in the center square actually got her the talk show. Whereas in Drew Barrymore's case, it's sort of the opposite. She had the talk show for the last couple of years and has a very good relationship, obviously, with CBS and Paramount and all of that. So, you know, she had the clout to get this made. But of course, the original Hollywood Squares goes back to the 60s. Peter Marshall, who hosted that, just passed away. They made reference to him in the very first episode of this new version, which I thought was a nice touch. And that's where you got Paul Lynde in the center square. But look, you know, it's always sort of people either on their way up or on the way down, I would say, for the most part. Or in this case, you know, just people associated with CBS. Because you had Drew Carey in one of the episodes, obviously the host of The Price is Right. You had some of their sitcom stars in some episodes. I saw Tashina Arnold from The Neighborhood in one of the episodes. So as of this recording, there have been 3 episodes so far, and they've all had different panelists. Not completely. The first episode and the third had some similarities, but a few differences. Like Tiffany Haddish was in both. Triumph the Assault Comic Dog was in both, but absent was Julie Bowen. Jeff Ross wasn't there in the third episode, and Andrew Rannells was, and a few other people. So they're obviously sort of rotating people in and out, which is cool. It keeps the game lively, I guess. And Nate Burleson, I don't really know him. I had heard the name, but I don't watch morning news. He is a part of the CBS This Morning crew. He's a former NFL star. And I guess because ABC has Michael Strahan, they're like, let's get our own NFL star for our morning show. So he's been doing that, but he also does commentary for both CBS and Nickelodeon, actually. They've been running some of the football games, and he's been a part of that commentator team. but I don't really know him. And as a host, he's all right. I think he actually has a little trouble keeping the game back on track. I think the biggest issue with this iteration is the gameplay moves very slowly. I remember back in the John Davidson days, even in the Tom Bergeron era, you would play sometimes 2 full games, maybe even start a third game. And if you don't know, Hollywood Squares, it's tic-tac-toe. So when you finish one of the games, they move on to the next game. And so it's whoever gets the tic-tac-toe or who has 5 squares. If the board's completely full, whoever has 5 squares over 4 gets the win. And so in the first episode they aired, they only played 1 game. That was it. And then they went to the bonus round after somebody won the 1 game. In the other 2 episodes, they at least started the second game. But, if you're only going to have 8 or 9 questions in the entire half hour, you've got to keep the game moving a little bit quicker. And I think maybe some of the stars got that note because by the 3rd episode, there were less sort of jokey answers and more just let's get straight to the point. And I think that's actually Drew Barrymore's, not failing, because I don't want to say she's failing at it, but, her cross to bear, I guess. Being in the center square, you need to be quick-witted. And look, I understand sometimes they get joke answers ahead of time that are written for them. I do understand that. But, Joan Rivers in the 80s, obviously natural, gifted comedian, other iterations with Ellen and Whoopi Goldberg, these people are quick on their feet. Drew Barrymore, lovely person. I like her and I like the talk show and all of that. But she's not really known as a comedian. So some of her sort of humor lies in other people sort of talking about her. Like Whitney Cummings had a bit or had a line about Drew Barrymore's old cocaine problem that she, played into. And there was like a kissing spree going on in the 3rd episode. And so that was very funny. She ended up kissing a few of the panelists on the mouth. But in terms of reading the punchline from the material she's given, I'm not sure she's the best at that. But anyway, I think there's some laughs to be had for sure. Depending on, I guess, your sensibilities. Like, I like Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. I like Jeff Ross. The sort of roast jokes, I like them. And I like when you know that there's no real malice behind it. They're just kind of kidding around with each other. You can tell that on the screen. And obviously, Drew Barrymore has a lot of friends in Hollywood, in the business, that she brought along for this ride. And I think it's smart to kind of mix them up every episode as well, so we're not getting the same. I remember back in the old days of Hollywood Squares, it was a stripped show, which meant it was Monday through Friday at the same time. So there were 5 episodes a week, and every 5 episodes they would switch. So your whole week would be, this panel. And sometimes there were regulars, like Joan Rivers, of course. But even besides the center square, like Alf was on a lot in the 80s. And Shadoe Stevens was the announcer, so he was always on. And that's another thing. They're doing the announcing from the squares themselves. Julie Bowen announced in the 1st episode, Debbie Mazar in the 2nd, and Andrew Rannells in the 3rd. And that's fine. I mean, I don't mind them mixing it up like that. And it is sort of a nice little shout out to Shadoe Stevens, who was the permanent announcer in the 80s version. So he was always on. I didn't mind that. And I like the set. They've refreshed the set. So it looks very, very colorful and fun. And the end game, I think, is similar to what they've done. The bonus round, I mean, is similar to what they've done in other versions where they go step by step and ask or tell a fact about each of the stars, and then the contestant that's doing the bonus has to either agree or disagree with that statement. And in this case, there's $25,000 on the line, hidden in an envelope from one of the stars, and I don't even think the stars know it. And then at the end, the stars take it out, and if the one holding the $25,000 you got correct, then you win that money. Other versions, they had, like, the stars have different keys, and they would try the keys. If it started the car, then you won the car or whatever. But I like this more. Cash is always appreciated, I think, on game shows. So look, overall, I think this is kind of a middling version because I think it does not move fast enough. Nate Burleson really needs to look. I'm sure he's a great color commentator for football. I'm sure he's fine on the CBS morning show, but I think he's a little bit like, oh, well, this is, Drew's show. I want to defer to her and let the stars kind of do their jokes and whatever. That's fine, but I think he needs to keep the game moving a little better so we get more than 8 or 9 questions in an episode. That's definitely a little bit of a sore spot for me. But I laughed, certainly, watching this. I do think there could be better opportunities for the center square. I love Drew, but like I said, she's not a naturally gifted comedian. Even though she is very likable. So, maybe she could be behind the scenes producing and be in one of the squares, but maybe she could have had one of her comedian friends, step up to the plate there. But I leave Hollywood Squares with a C+. I think it's going to rub people the wrong way that loved the original, because it does have some body humor, with some of the characters. But look, Paul Lynde maybe couched some of his, meanings and stuff back in the day. But it was a pretty racy show back in the day, too, if you'll remember. So, but you can check this out Thursdays on CBS if you are interested. And thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews. And check out my other game show reviews on that playlist I mentioned on the homepage. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.